All right, this is a special one for you guys. This is a little bit of my secret sauce. That's how I write social posts using AI, but also using memetics, which is the topic of my book that I wrote last year. So I'm just going to show you, this is the blog post where I define it. Put this out quite recently, and it might be worth you reading this just for some background context, especially if you're interested in the topic of how information spreads and things go viral. But the general idea is, rather than just asking ChatGPT to write a LinkedIn post or whatever, it does a pretty bad job of it. It uses these emojis. It's not great. There's not that much interest, I think, in this type of content. It doesn't perform. I've also tried a few popular prompts from other tools. Doesn't seem to do anything very well. My prompt, which you can get at the very end once I've built it all up, works like this. I've adapted this framework from Douglas Hofstadter, who talked about self-replicating sentences. Pretty crazy post. But the general idea is, for information to spread, you're going to have a few different components that work together. First of all is the bait. It needs to grab attention. If you have you have the best and most amazing food in the world in a restaurant, there's no sign outside to say that it's a restaurant, nobody's going to know. If there's not nice looking pictures or whatever outside, nobody's going to know that they could go in and eat that food. But once they walk through the door, they make a decision. I don't know if you've walked into a restaurant and thought, this place looks terrible, I'm not going to stay here. It doesn't look like me. You walk in and it's like, no, like there's rats on the floor or whatever. But if you walk in, you're like, oh, this looks great. Actually, it's even better than outside. Then you've been successfully hooked. And a lot of people call hooks, in terms of ads and social media posts, they actually mix these two together. If you think about when you're fishing, it's not the hook that attracts someone, right? It's not a hook that attracts the fish. It's the bait on the hook. So really, they're using that term wrong. The bait is what attracts you. The hook is what keeps you once you've been attracted. So it helps you decide that this is actually relevant for my attention. And then you need to do a third thing, because if you just grab their attention and keep it for a little bit, you're not doing anything with it. So you need to reward them. You need to give them some sort of compensation for their attention, and that's going to elicit reciprocation. So you're going to, when you give them a little stat that they could tell their coworkers, or if you give them an interesting fact or a new way of looking at the world, then that is their reward for sticking around. And if you do these three things, that's a brand ad. So that's going to build memory associations. But if this is a performance post, then you need a payload. You need to deliver something. And again, that could just be like a brand association. It's not just rewarding to watch this ad, but we're giving you the brand association that people who are cool drink Corona or whatever it is. That is possible, but then quite often, because I worked primarily in performance marketing, I'd be delivering like a call to action. Like, how do we actually get them to come through to the site? That's the structure. And you can read more about that in the book or in this post. And then a few other things in the prompt. I have some instructions, and then I have a few examples, ones that I've written in the past. And then you'll put your example at the bottom. So all you need to do is figure out what is the payload, what it we actually need to get people to do. And I've got a payload here. So this is the prompt. I've just pasted this in here in the system message. It's got everything in there. But then I just need to input this part. The goal here is thought leadership. That's the general category. That's what I'm trying to establish myself as. And then the payload is one of the things you can learn about with memetics is that most Hollywood movies have the same story. So like Harry Potter, Lion King, Lord of the Rings, they actually use the hero's journey story template. And I'm going to generate this post, and hopefully it'll be enough I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm going to let ChatGPT explain it to you, because let's see if it hooks your attention. Baits you into hooking your attention. Cool. It's now generating the bait, the hook, the reward, and then the final post. It is saying that within this framework, if you mention that popular blockbuster films that people love will grab attention, let's successfully figure that out from the Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lion King, etc. And then the hook is that we can introduce the concept of the hero's journey, something I haven't really seen before that's going to spark interest in people who care about this. The reward is, in this case, like that there is a book available, because that is, if someone is genuinely interested in this, that is actually, it doesn't have to be fully commercial, right? Yeah, I benefit if people buy my book, but primarily, like, they benefit from reading it too, right? Like, otherwise I wouldn't have written it. So that's quite helpful. Anyway, so the post itself, what it's come up with, like the final result is here. So it's saying, ever notice why certain films captivate us more than others? So that's quite interesting, gets my attention. And then we mentioned a few Hollywood blockbusters, which I mentioned here. And then it says it's based on the hero's journey, and it's a universal story framework that never fails to engage and inspire. And then if you're interested in how this works, then you can dive into my book where I unleash the hypnotic power of story in marketing. So I think this is pretty good marketing copy. And even if you don't like that one, you can just delete it and then hit submit again. And it's going to generate another one. You can also try different payloads as well. Well, yeah, so that's it.